Proudly brought to you by Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow.
All right, well, so time now to talk your health, my health, and it's happening nowhere than your best breakfast show in morning TV, live on GH1 TV, streaming live around the world at gh1tv.com. Some other very, interesting and impactful conversations coming your way in a short while. This one, for me, it's, I think, the biggest one, really. So on Healthy You today, which of course is brought to you by Yum Vita and Vodafone, we're talking cerebral palsy. Before we go into the details, so let me remind you some interesting, programs and projects that the Vodafone Ghana is about for us this morning. So they're asking that question, when you always want to give more. I know how that feeling is like. Well, Vodafone says that they're giving you the chance to share your credit with not just one person, but other friends. 2 other friends to be precise, and they call this the Ekikimi promo. All you have to do is to simply load your credits with the short code *134*, followed by the PIN, and then your friends will load that same card with the short code *135*. So you load with *134*, followed by that PIN on the scratch card, and then once you have loaded, you give the same card with the same PIN to your friends, and then they dial *135* and get to load same PIN, and they get the same value as you. How cool is that? Well, Vodafone says keep loading, keep sharing your credit with your loved ones in the Ekikimi promo, because Vodafone is all you need. Vodafone power to you. Well, it's a Cerebral Palsy Day tomorrow. October 6th every year is when Ghana joins the rest of the world to mark this great day, to raise awareness on the condition, cerebral palsy, and an aspect or area of health that seemed to have been neglected for a very long time now. I'm joined in the studio this morning by someone, I dare say that Farida Bedouin, she's an entrepreneur, a disability rights advocate, but one of the few persons in Ghana who seems to have broken the boundaries of limitations as a person living with cerebral palsy. Farida, you're welcome to GH today.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, it has.
The last time we met was on the Star Woman project.
Exactly.
Yes.
No, that's true.
With Nashoko.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm so excited to have you in the studio this morning. Well, Jadidia Abanga. Jadidia, I got it wrong. Jadidia Abanga.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Well, so she is a coordinator of the Inclusive Child Development Program at the Presbyterian Health Service, leads ICD to promote disability inclusion and a whole lot of things that she does as well, all in support of cerebral palsy and disabilities, persons with special needs.
Yes.
All right, so ladies, once again, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I know we have had this conversation early on in the week. Tuesday, we spoke cerebral palsy. But when it's good, you do it again and again and again. So that's why we brought it back. I want us to understand once again what cerebral palsy is. There's still a lot of people out there who do not know exactly what this is. Jadidia, take the lead.
Cerebral palsy is damage to the developing brain, and this could happen during pregnancy, during delivery, and then after birth, and it predominantly affects posture and movements of the person affected with cerebral palsy.
And I'm told that there are different types of cerebral palsy, severe cases, mild cases. Farida, you want to speak to that?
There are no two conditions, there are no two exact instances of cerebral palsy that are the same. So and apart from that, medically there are different kinds of cerebral palsy. There's spastic, there's arthroid, and there's dystonic. So depending on the kind of cerebral palsy you have, you will be affected differently. But as the DDS said, it's basically a damage to the motor development of the brain. So it affects the way you talk, your movements. It can even affect your hearing, your eyesight, and all those things as well. So there are some who are visually impaired as well as physically impaired, and there are some who are not. There are some who can speak, there are some who cannot speak. So it depends on the actual part of the cerebellum that was damaged.
Wow. All right. Well, if you just joined us, we're having the discussion on cerebral palsy. If you have any questions, you can send them through 05041599423. Yes, so 05041599423. Who is at risk of living with the condition, or probably being birthed with the condition today?
Yeah, there are a number of risk factors that could predispose you or predispose a child to getting cerebral palsy. And some of these risk factors include low birth weight, prematurity, and then others that could also cause cerebral palsy includes infections such as malaria, meningitis. You could also jaundice is also another cause of cerebral palsy. And as a matter of fact, through our interventions and our interactions, we've gotten to know that jaundice is one of the #1 causes of cerebral palsy.
Jaundice?
Yes, please.
Wow.
Or cerebral palsy in Ghana.
Right.
Even though we don't have specific data, but we see that keeps coming up as one of the #1 causes of cerebral palsy in Ghana. And there are several factors that could lead to jaundice, and this could be due to maternal baby incompatibility. This is what we popularly refer to as rhesus incompatibility. We also have this ABO incompatibility, and then poor feeding of the baby and dehydration could also be a cause of jaundice. And then to add to it, some of our cultural practices could also contribute to us not being able to see or being able to appreciate jaundice at a very early stage. And you would have to, most of our, after giving birth, most of our children are hidden and clothed so with a lot of clothes such that we do not actually see it when the jaundice sets in. So by the time we are able to recognize that this child has jaundice, it might be a little bit too late for the child. Yeah.
I mean, considering the areas where you work, I want to believe that you definitely have come into contact with government, leaders or members who are supposed to be working in interventions areas, and I'm talking all of these social intervention programs that we need as a country, for persons with cerebral palsy. How will you access that? Do you even see it as a priority for us as a country?
Yes, like Farida mentioned, even though cerebral palsy is broadly referred to as damage to the developing brain, it affects everybody differently, and it is quite, let me say, it's quite unique to everyone. So we really need a holistic approach in dealing with cerebral palsy. We need to move the paradigm shift from just the medical focus to a more socio-medical focus, or a more rights-based approach, where we see interventions for persons with cerebral palsy more as a right than more as a medical condition. Yeah.
Okay, well, I will come back to that question, but Farida, some personal experiences now, if you like. Your family definitely has been very supportive in shaping your aspirations. I mean, you are an IT guru in Ghana today. If we're talking people in the space of information technology, you come in. How has it been for you? Let's look at the family angle and the kind of support that you've received from home, for instance.
For me, I always say I was really blessed to be put into the family that I have been put in, because I mean, there's really no difference between me and the child with cerebral palsy begging on the street with the parents. All that happened is that I was given the right treatment, the right therapies, and that is how I became who I am today. So I always try and encourage parents of children with cerebral palsy to put in their effort and put in the work, because it's not something that happens overnight. A lot of parents come to me and say that, oh, they want their child to be like me, and I'm like, it doesn't work that way. You have to put in the work. You have to do physiotherapy constantly. And if you do physiotherapy sometimes you can do physiotherapy for 1 year, 2 years, you will not see any change, but you have to persist and you have to continue. Because for me, my mother wanted me to be totally independent, so that when she's not around, I'll be able to take care of myself, and that has been her goal. And that should be the goal of every parent with a child with cerebral palsy, or with a child with any disability for that matter. Because the way we treat people with disabilities in this country, in fact in most of Africa, is very disheartening. And a lot needs to be done in ways of advocacy as well as education, because there's still this myth and taboo around children with disabilities, and most of them are really treated badly. And as Jedediah said, I mean, when it comes to the government and the various institutions taking an interest in it, I don't think enough is being done, because cerebral palsy is the #1 childhood disability worldwide. And if people can really appreciate that, then the amount of money that is being pumped into malaria, tuberculosis, and AIDS, at least a fraction of it should be pumped into cerebral palsy. Because unlike malaria and tuberculosis, cerebral palsy is a lifelong condition that one has to live with. It doesn't go away, and you have to find a way of managing it.
Well, on Tuesday we had an event on cerebral palsy. The health minister was there. He made a number of promises. He says that in the next 3 weeks, for instance, he's going to begin to register persons living with the condition. And then government is going to probably start or kickstart, projects on all of the social intervention programs that we are calling for. You talk about discrimination, and we're wrapping up on this, and then I'll get you to tell us what you're doing tomorrow. How best do you think that as a country we can deal with the issue of discrimination, stigma against persons living with cerebral palsy?
It's a matter of education, and it's very important that we all do a bit of advocacy. And it's also important that people living with cerebral palsy and other disabilities control the narrative of the conversation about disability, because the problem is we have a lot of people talking to us who have no idea about our condition. So they say the wrong things about our needs, and at the end of the day, policies are done for us which do not meet our needs, and it's a problem. So, for instance, I have started this project called Mystifying Disabilities, where I talk to people living with various disabilities. I film it and I put it on social media so that people will appreciate our problems. Because, well, believe me, we have a lot of problems in this country. Yeah, even access, especially access. And I'm like, if this government can just solve the access problem, it will go a long way. Because you go somewhere and there's always a stop to enter the building. Even if the building has a lift, there's always a stop to enter the main building. And I'm like, how will somebody with a wheelchair get into the building, for that matter, not to talk of using the lift? The second one is access to the disabled toilets. There are certain buildings with disabled toilets, but most of them are locked. So when you want to go to the toilet, what happens is you are now looking for the person who has the key. And if you cannot go to the main one, then you are stuck. Or the cleaners have used it as a storeroom. So even when you want to go there, they don't want to open it for you. The disabled parking is another problem, because sometimes they put the sign there, but they haven't educated the security officials on what it means. I remember very well the first time I went to Accra Mall, and I saw the disabled parking sign for the first time. That was like 5 or 6 years ago. I was so happy that at long last we are getting somewhere with disability. They have put the symbol there, that means it's for disabled parking. I get there and I ask to park there. Then the security man tells me that it's for motorcycles. And I'm like, I mean, what kind of nonsense is this? Does that look like a motorcycle to you? I have to spend 5 minutes arguing with them before they allow me to park there. So you cannot just put such symbols there and expect people to know about it without educating them appropriately.
So it's a lot of education, guys. Let's intensify the awareness creation. Let's get us to understand what it is to live with such a condition, and for us as a society, do what is expected of us as well to make lives for persons with disability and cerebral palsy, for that matter, easier. It's a wrap. The event tomorrow is what time?
Yeah, we have a 3-part event tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. We would be having a route broadcast on the main Medina Shashi Rana highway. You see us with our green balloons, in our green shirts. Access any question on cerebral palsy, and then we are available to answer it for you.
All right.
And then in the afternoon, later in the day, we visit Parliament, and then we get the honorable Honorable Ezenato Rollins will make a statement on Parliament on cerebral palsy, and then we have the schools project at Osu Presby Cluster of Schools at 10 a.m.
All right. Listen, I've been saying this on the show since beginning of October. A little green, a little love, just in support of persons with cerebral palsy. That's why I'm still rocking my green here. You could probably take a selfie of yourself wearing a green and just send it to all our social media platforms. My personal handle is @BaseSwat.DH. Well, Jedediah, thank you so much. And of course, Farida will be there tomorrow to support you. Okay? All right. Well, the show continues with more. Don't go away.